My name is Basavaraj M. Gurappa. I'm a faculty at the Department of Chemical Engineering, IIT Madras.
And I'm Sumesh. I'm also an assistant professor at the Department of Chemical Engineering at IIT Madras. And we are offering this course called Fluid Particle Mechanics. So,
Yeah, so this course is traditionally taught as two different topics, fluid mechanics and mechanical operations. And if you look at mechanical operations, there are several processes in which you have fluid particles that coexist during unit operations. So in essence, this course combines the two core courses that are traditionally taught for chemical engineers. However, these courses would also be useful for the folks from civil engineering and metallurgists, who also deal with fluid particle systems.
okay, so we'll quickly go through the contents of the course. These are the books that we would primarily be using. So the course can be really thought about as having two parts. In one part, we will deal with systems which have only mechanics of fluids involved, and then in the other part we will concentrate on systems where both fluids and particle mechanics come together. So, for the part where we deal with fluids alone, these are the reference books that you can use. And the topics that will be covered are we will go through the fundamentals of fluid mechanics. So, and then we will derive the basic governing equations that are required to describe the mechanics of fluids, namely the Navier-Stokes equations. We will look at certain situations where you can solve these systems exactly. So we'll look at the analytical calculations in sufficient details, and such an exercise would also give you some insight into the physics and the mechanics that govern the motion of fluids. We will then specialize in turbulent fluid flows because that's an integral part again, and then we will talk a little bit about boundary layer theory because certain concepts from that's also going to be useful in your career. And we will also deal with dimensional analysis, a very important part in any branch of science or chemical engineering. So where you know how to deal with large systems, large data, and so on. So that's going to be briefly the contents of or the topics that we will have when we talk about fluid mechanics alone.
Okay, so when it comes to the fluid particle mechanics, so we'll have again the two reference books. One is Unit Operations of Chemical Engineering by Mr. McCabe and Smith, one of the well-known textbooks in this field. I will also have contents taken from Introduction to Particle Technology by Martin Rhodes. And again, in terms of the contents, so these are what are going to be covered. So we'll start with particles and their characterization. This is really important if you really want to look at fluid particle systems. What kind of particles are present in the fluid? What are their characteristics? Okay, it's one of the important aspects. So we'll start with this, and then move on to topics where you can involve cases where there's a motion of a single particle in a fluid or a multiple particle systems in a fluid, and then look at this from the point of separations, okay, separation of particles from these fluids and sedimentation aspects. Followed by this, we will have packed bed and fluidized beds. These are columns which are filled with particles, and they kind of provide a way of enhancing fluid particle interactions. When I say fluid particle interactions, I'm talking about in terms of the contact between the fluid and the particle, and you will see that these are important in the context of adsorption studies, important in the context of chemical reactions, and this will be followed by some topics involving filtration, which is a special case of flow through packed beds, and again widely used for separation of solid particles from a fluid. Okay, and that's the contents for the fluid particle systems part.